start off with number 1. It says 2b plus 3 equals 13, and we want to solve for b. Raise your hand if you were able to get b for that one. Blaine?
5.
Good. Okay. So what we would do, we would subtract 3 from both sides. Then you're left with 2b is equal to 10. Divide by 2 on both sides, and that's how you get that b is equal to 5. Okay, number 2, it says that 7a plus 9 is equal to 6a plus 13. What did you get for that one?
4.
A is equal to 4. So here's what we would do. So we would subtract 6a from both sides. Okay, and then 7a minus 6a is just 1, so just a. So now we have a plus 9 is equal to 13. Subtract 9 from both sides, and that's how we get that a is equal to 4. Okay. All right, for the last one, you have 2y minus 6x is equal to 14. Now, you can't get a numerical answer. When we get y equals, we just want to get y by itself and understand what that equation would look like. What'd you get, Nathan?
Y equals 3x plus 7.
Good. Okay. Y equals 3x plus 7. So you would add 6x to both sides.
Mrs. Ambrose, you're muted.
Oh, okay. I'll unmute. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Okay. So we'd add 6x to both sides, and then we get 2y is equal to 6x plus 14, and then divide everything by 2. And when I say everything, I mean everything. So every term gets divided by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is how we get the 3x. And then 14 divided by 2 is how we get the 7. So y is equal to 3x plus 7. Okay. All right, any questions on warm-up today? Okay. Okay. All right, so next I just wanted to give you guys a preview of what this week is going to look like. So today we are going to be talking about slope, intercept form, and standard form and taking some notes on that. Tomorrow, remember, is your work from home day. So pretty much what's going to happen for tomorrow, the practice that we get today, finishing that practice is going to be your assignment for tomorrow for this class. It is not expected to take a full hour, and it's not supposed to take a full hour. It's supposed to be 15 to 30 minutes of work, okay, for our class. 30 minutes, like, max. Like, if you didn't get anything done today, then it would take 30 minutes tomorrow. Okay, and then on Wednesday when you come back, we're going to be talking about the slopes of parallel and perpendicular lines. So pretty much everything that we do here today is to prepare you for these two topics. So today is really going to kind of be a review of stuff that you probably already learned in algebra. And then Wednesday and Thursday is when we're going to take that stuff and apply geometry to it. And so Thursday we'll talk about perpendicular bisector equations. This will be the last new topic that we learned before the test. So Friday is going to be some mixed equations practice and a quiz, and then a preview. Okay. Next Tuesday is when your test is going to be. So after this, the Monday that we come back is going to be the review day, and then the Tuesday will be your test day. Okay, so you know what's coming up. All right, for tutoring this week, today is going to be a makeup day. So if you were absent for the RA last week, or if you were absent for the quiz that we took on Friday of last week, you can stay after school today and make that up. Wednesday is going to be homework help. And then Thursday is going to be another makeup day, so you can also stay Thursday if you need to make something up. Or a redo / re-quiz day. So, a couple of things. I was looking at some grades, and some people that really should have retested Unit 2 did not come last week on Thursday to retest Unit 2. So normally, you're not always going to get 2 retest sessions because sometimes report cards come up, progress reports come up, and you don't have time to have 2 retest sessions. There's only going to be 1. Or sometimes things will happen where like the next unit is only 2 weeks long, so you're not going to have 2 weeks to retest, okay? So if there is an issue and you need to retest, but there's a schedule conflict, you need to talk to me that week before Thursday and let me know, hey, I can't retest on Thursday. Can we arrange another time? And then that's fine. But don't wait until afterwards and then tell me, Miss, I couldn't come last Thursday, so can I stay next week? Because you might not be able to. So for this time, and this time only, I don't promise this is going to be every time, I'm going to have another retest session on Thursday. You can come Thursday, stay, retest, okay? But this Thursday will be the last retest session because next week you're going to take your new test. And so we need to move on from the previous test and move on with the new stuff. Okay, so this is going to be the last retest session this Thursday. Also, and this isn't something I normally do. Okay, normally we don't redo RAs, but because of the way that this RA was, a lot of the people that failed the RA, it wasn't really like you just made a small mistake because you weren't being careful, and then that made everything else messed up. So if that happens, I'm going to allow you to come into a retest session, fix your mistakes, and then I'll bring your grade up to a 70 if you failed. Most students did really well on this assessment, really. Like there was actually a lot of 103s and 105s. It was just like some students were not being careful, and then that messed them up. So if that was your situation, come fix your mistakes, bring yourself to passing, okay? Okay. So in your work from home day, so we've talked about that really mainly, it's just going to be to finish the practice that you're going to get today. There are 2 things in Schoology for it, so I wanted to show you what those are and what they look like. Okay, so if you go to Unit 3, you'll see daily assignments, which is where we normally have our warm-up and stuff. You'll see this folder, November 3rd, teacher workday, assignment, and attendance. So if you click on this folder, I'm pretty sure it's in the description. Just gotta wait for it to load. Well, okay. So it says in the description that your main assignment is to finish the homework, basically. But then if you have some extra time or need to do some extra practice just because you feel like you're a little weak on the subject, there's a Kahoot. So you can click on that. It's going to try to open the Kahoot within Schoology, but it usually doesn't work that well when it's opened in Schoology. So you'll see once it loads. Okay, so it's going to try to open it in here. Don't do that. Click on the title, and then it'll open up in a separate tab, and then it looks nicer in the tab. Okay, and so your one attendance question for this day is just going to ask you if you did your assignment and if you did the Kahoot. Just say true, and that's your attendance for that day. Okay, I personally am not really even checking the Kahoot. That's extra for me. I think that's just good practice if you feel like you need some extra help. The thing that I am requiring you to do is to finish the homework from today. That's your required assignment for tomorrow. Question?
So we don't have to do 2, we just have to do the homework?
Yes. For me, personally, The Kahoot is optional. The homework is not. Okay? Okay. Any other questions about tomorrow? What you're supposed to do? Okay. All right, get out your notes, turn to page 18, and we're going to talk about slope, intercept form, and standard form. Okay. All right, so for your notes today, it's mainly going to be on this paper that you picked up when you came in. And then once we're done, you'll fold this up and just tape it into here like this. After going through some of my classes today, I think that I also want to do a little just quick refresher of slope. So we're going to put that on the notebook paper on page 18. Okay. So quick refresher. When we have a positive slope, what does that look like? It's going up, right? So a positive slope will look something like this. Negative slope goes the other way. So from left to right, if it's positive, it's going up. From left to right, if it's negative, it's going down. What about a zero slope? What does that look like?
A line, a straight line.
A straight horizontal line. And then an undefined slope is when you have a straight vertical line. Okay? So you've got positive, negative, zero, and undefined. How do you calculate slope? That's the equation for slope-intercept form. So one of the ways to identify slope is to identify the m in a y equals mx plus b equation. Okay. What about if you're on a graph? How do you get your slope? Rise over run. Good. Okay. Now, if you don't have a graph and you just have the coordinates, another way to do slope is your change in y over your change in x. That's the same thing as rise over run. Rise is representing your vertical change. Run is representing your horizontal change. So change in y over change in x. And when we talk about change, mathematically that refers to subtraction. So another way of thinking about it is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So these are multiple methods, multiple ways to find your slope. Okay, so it's the m in this formula, in this equation, or it's rise over run on a graph, or it's your change in y over change in x in a table. And when we talk about change, that refers to subtraction. All right, so that's just a quick little slope refresher. Okay, now when you're ready, open up your notes, and we're going to talk about slope-intercept form and standard form. Okay, so slope, intercept, and standard are just two different formats of how you can write an equation. So slope intercept form is written in a format where it's easy to identify the slope and it's easy to identify the y-intercept. Okay. The coefficient in front of x, your m, represents your slope when you're in slope-intercept form. And whatever you're adding or subtracting to the equation, the constant, that's your b, which represents your y-intercept. So if I have y equals 7x plus 3, my slope is 7, and my y-intercept is 3. Okay. All right. Standard form is just a different format for how you can write an equation. In standard form, it is not easy to identify what the y-intercept is and what the slope is. The slope is not a, okay? And the y-intercept is not c. In order to determine what your slope and y-intercept are, you cannot have your equation in standard form. You have to take your standard form equation and convert it to slope-intercept form. So that's what we're going to do here in this example. So you can see that we're written in standard form. 2x plus 4y equals -8. Your slope is not 2, and your y-intercept is not -8. This is the wrong format to identify slope and y-intercept. So we have to take this format and convert it to slope-intercept. And then I will easily be able to see my slope and easily be able to see my y-intercept. Okay. All right, now to convert it, basically, you just got to solve for y, just like we did in the warm-up today. So the first thing that I want to do to get y by itself is I need to move this 2x to the other side. This is a positive 2x, so I'll subtract 2x to get rid of it. Okay. This will become 0, and then you're left with 4y is equal to -2x minus 8. All right. Now what do I need to do?
We have to divide 4 by everything.
Right. Divide everything by 4. Okay. So y is equal to -2 divided by 4. That reduces to -1/2. Reduce that fraction. And then -8 divided by 4 gives us -2. Okay. Now that this is in slope-intercept form, it's easy to identify what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So my slope is -1/2, and my y-intercept is -2. And notice, that's not 2 and that's not -8, okay? So standard form does not show you what your slope and y-intercept are. Okay, let's look at the next one. So once again, it is not in slope-intercept form, so it's not easy to identify what our slope and y-intercept are. So we need to convert it, and we convert it by getting y by itself. Okay. All right, so to do that, first thing I want to do, I have a -5x here. I want to move that to the other side, so I do that by adding 5x to both sides. Okay, those become 0. We're left with -4y plus 5 is equal to 5x plus 7. start getting y by itself again. So I have a plus 5 here. I'm going to get rid of that by subtracting 5 from both sides. So I have negative 4y is equal to 5x, and then 7 minus 5 would give me 2. And then divide everything by negative 4. And make sure every term gets divided by negative 4. So anytime you're adding or subtracting something, that also needs to get divided by negative 4. Okay. So that'll become 1. You're left with y is equal to negative 5/4 x. That's already reduced fraction. And then positive 2 over negative 4 reduces to negative 1/2. And then it's easy to identify. Here's our slope. And there's our y-intercept. Okay. All right. Look over to the other column. And this is where we're going to look at how to convert to standard form if we ever need to have standard form. Okay. All right, so in standard form, a couple of things. It's written in the format ax plus by equals c. A, b, and c need to be integers, which means you cannot have fractions. We need to have all whole numbers here. And your a needs to be positive. B can be negative, C can be negative, but A needs to be positive. Okay. All right. Give me a second here. Okay, so if you look at the example, this time our equation is in slope-intercept form, and I need to take this and convert it to standard form. So the first issue is that we have a fraction, and in standard form, we're not supposed to have fractions. Here is how you get rid of a fraction. So if you have 3 over 2, you multiply it by 2, what happens is you have 3 times 2 over 2, and 2 divided by 2 is just 1, so you're left with 3. Same thing here. If you had 5 over 4 and you multiplied it by 4, now you have 5 times 4 over 4. The 4's divide and cancel each other, and you're left with 5. So when I have this, I want to get rid of the 2, so I multiply everything by 2. And because it's an equation, whatever I do to the right side, I need to also do to the left side. So y will also get multiplied by 2. Okay. All right, so now I have 2y is equal to, and make sure you multiply both terms by 2. So 3/2 times 2 just becomes 3. And then 7 times 2 becomes 14. All right, the next thing I need to do, I need to get my x term and my y term on the same side. So I'm going to move x over by subtracting. Okay. We have a positive 3x minus 3x, that becomes 0. So now we have negative 3x plus 2y is equal to 14. Okay. And then the last thing I need to fix is a needs to be positive. So all my other terms can be negative, but the x term needs to be positive. So I just change that by changing the sign of everything. It's like multiplying everything by -1. So this becomes positive 3 minus 2y and negative 14. Okay. Next one. So once again, we're in slope intercept. We need to convert to standard. So step one, get rid of your fractions. We get rid of a fraction by multiplying everything by what's in the denominator. So now I have 5y is equal to negative 7x plus 15. Make sure everything gets multiplied by 5. Okay, so this number 2. Okay. Step 2, get your x and y on the same side. So if I have negative 7x here, I need to move it to the other side. So I'm going to add 7x. Those become 0. And now we have 7x plus 5y equals 15. And then step 3, check to make sure that your a is positive. Our a is positive, so we don't have to do anything else. This is in standard form. 7x plus 5y equals 15. Okay, last one. All right, step 1, get rid of your fractions. How am I going to get rid of that 2/3?
How do you get by 3?
Multiply everything by 3. Okay. So everything on this side gets multiplied by 3. And everything on that side gets multiplied by 3. So this becomes 3y minus 30 is equal to 2/3 times 3 just becomes 2. And then in parentheses, you have x minus 8. Okay. Then you're going to distribute that 2. So that'll become 2x minus 16. If you're wondering why we didn't multiply the 3 times the x and the negative 8, it's because since these were in parentheses, another order that we could have done this in, we could have multiplied this out first. Then you would have had 2x over 3 minus 16 over 3. Okay. When you multiply that by 3, you're still left with 2x minus 16. Okay, so it's the same thing that's happening here. So really you don't need to do that. Okay, and then now we have 3y minus 30 on this side. Okay, so now I need to start getting, I'm going to have to move all of my number terms to one side and my x terms to the other side. So I'm going to add 30 here, okay, to move that over. So 3y is equal to 2x plus 14. And then subtract 2x here and here, get it to the other side. Those become 0. Negative 2x plus 3y equals 14. And then last step, check to see if a is positive. It's not this time, so go change the signs of everything. So we have 2x minus 3y equals negative 14, and then we're done. All right, when you're ready, flip to the back and we're going to look at 2 other examples that are a little bit different. Any questions so far on the front side?
For the very top one,
Mhm.
the right side, how did you get 7? Wait, no, for the second one.
This one?
Minus 7.
Oh, because it was negative 7/5 multiplied by 5, and the 5 will cancel in the denominator, and you're left with negative 7.
Oh.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing with the third one too?
Yeah. So you have 2/3 multiplied by the denominator. That will cancel the 3 that's in the denominator, and you're just left with 2, which is, well, it was 2/3, and then you had x minus 8, so 2 became here, and then you distribute. Okay, so on the back, these are going to be the other kind of problems that you're going to see on your practice for today and tomorrow. So sometimes it's going to give you 2 points, and from those 2 points, it wants you to find the equation. Okay. So we're going to look at 2 different methods for how to do that. Am I hearing things? It's like they're not. Okay, so there's 2 methods for how to get your equation if you're given 2 points. One is called the process table method, and then the other is a little more direct. You're just finding your slope and finding your y-intercept and then putting it into the equation, okay? All right, so if you're using your process table method, then here's what you do. You take these 2 points. This is our x, this is our y, x and y. Plug them into the table. Okay. Then you're going to find your slope. So remember, we calculate slope with change in y over change in x. Change just refers to the difference. So between 8 to negative 12, what is the change? What are you adding or subtracting? So first of all, are you adding or subtracting? Subtracting, because we're decreasing. And then you ask yourself, okay, well, how much? So if you're not sure or can't do that in your head, just subtract these guys. Negative 12 minus 8 gives you negative 20. So that's what you're subtracting. Okay. And you can always check your work. 8 minus 20 gives me negative 12. Okay. From 3 to negative 1, look at the change. So go negative 1 minus 3, and that gives you negative 4. So that's the change. 3 minus 4 will give you negative 1. All right. To calculate your slope, which is your m, you divide change in y over change in x. So negative 20 over negative 4 is equal to 5. All right, here's where the process table is going to come in. So a reminder of what an equation does. In an equation, you are supposed to be able to insert your x value and then do whatever the equation says, and it will output the y value. So if I insert 3 into this equation, then once I do the math for that equation, I should get 8. Okay, that's the goal. So we already know what our slope is. We just need to figure out, what do I need to add or subtract to this part of my equation in order to output the y, okay, in order to get the y. So plugging in our x values here and here. So we have 5 times 3, and that's equal to 15. So then you ask yourself, what do I need to add or subtract to 15 to get to 8?
Minus 7.
Minus 7. And that's your plus b. And then for this one, really, the second one is just to double check. So 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. And then just double check that if you subtract 7, you should get negative 12. And we do. That's true. Okay. So that means that my slope-intercept equation y is equal to 5x minus 7. All right, and then if it asks for standard form, we just take this and convert it to standard. And to convert, all I need to do is get my x term to the other side. So I would subtract 5x here and here. Now I have negative 5x plus y is equal to negative 7. And check to see that your a is positive. If it's not, like in this problem, then just change the sign of everything. So make this positive, minus, and positive. All right, last example. So process table, this is one method for how you can deal with a question that gives you 2 points and wants your equation. Okay. Below is just another method. So you can use either. I'm cool with either. So it gives us 2 points, wants our equation again. So this time, we're going to be a little bit more direct. We're just going to get our slope and get our y-intercept by solving. So the slope, okay, is your change in y over your change in x. And you can use whatever method works for you. I like to do a table and put my coordinates into the table. So I have 2, 3, and I have 5, negative 3. And then I look at the change in y and change in x. If you would prefer this method, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, you can use that too. It's literally the same thing. It's just a different way of viewing it. But you're still doing the same kind of math because you're subtracting here. Negative 3 minus 3 gives you negative 6. 5 minus 2 gives you 3. Okay, so that's the change. So change in y over change in x is negative 6 over 3, which is just negative 2. So that's my slope. Okay? And then to get your y-intercept. So in our equation, we have y equals mx plus b. All right. So you can get 3 of those things and then just solve for the b, which you're missing. We already have the slope is negative 2. Okay. Pick a point. You can choose A or B, doesn't matter. I'll just choose A. That's my x and y. So my y is 3, x is 2, and then the only thing I don't know is B. So just like your warm-up, you take this equation and solve for B. So I have 3 is equal to negative 4 plus B. How do I get B by itself? Add 4. Three plus 4 gives me 7. So that's my B. And once you have your slope and y-intercept, you can write your equation in slope-intercept form. So y is equal to negative 2x plus 7. Okay. And then for standard form, you just take this and convert it to standard. So I would add 2x to both sides. Okay, move x and y to the same side. 2x plus y equals 7. A is already positive, so I don't have to do anything else. That's my standard form. Okay. Oh. Okay, so for your practice today, I'm cutting your work in half. Evens only, and cross out or omit number 18. Okay, and then one thing, there's a question on the back, 20 and 22. So I just want to remind you guys that when you have a zero slope, that is a, bless you, that's a y equals equation. And when you have an undefined slope, that's an x equals equation. I had a little thing. Oh. So to help you understand, so a zero slope is just a flat horizontal line, which means that there would only ever be one y value because it would never, y is always going to stay at the same height. So your x's will change, but your y won't. So if I have a zero slope and it crosses the y-axis at 3, my equation is just y equals 3. So in this problem, if this is a zero slope and my point is 4, 7, then the equation would just be y equals 7. Now, if you have an undefined slope, so it's a vertical line, okay, then your y's can change, but your x will always stay the same because it's a straight up and down line. It's never going to be any other x besides this one. So if it crosses at 5, my equation would be x equals 5. So in this problem, if it's a 4, 7, my equation would be x equals 4. Okay. So that's how you would do 20 and 22.
Can I read back to the
Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes, a little bit less than 10 minutes left. So y'all let me know if you need any help on this.